He was the one that asked for the front crossing this weekend in Outmarch.
That's it right there.
Well, I didn't ask where it is. I said, well, it's not much.
It's, which month?
That's nothing.
Sunday at 12.
Local talent, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I got there. Are you still there? But you'd faded before that, Dean. So you're going to have to start again. Make sure your radio's on high power. In fact, I'll remind everybody when you talk to us here, make sure it's on high power. You need a bit more oomph than what you've got boat to boat. So good morning again, Dean and Gail, and go ahead again, Dean. Yeah, I know you are wanting, I got the Opua word, and we do know you are wanting to get there. Hope you haven't set a date for the great event in Russell there. You just never know. David will be looking at that again, I am sure, and I know you two are anxious, as quite a few people are anxious. I think that's about all I got from that, Dean, but we will certainly be looking at your options. Was there a specific question? Over. Yeah, I think the best you guys can do is get yourselves to the bottom there. There'll be quite a few people gathering in the Isle of Pines. Good spot to be. Good Wi-Fi, keep you occupied. Good walks, wonderful walks actually up behind. You walk up to the church. It's a decent walk, but the views are absolutely fantastic. So, plenty to do.
Bring a cushion.
Bring a cushion? Why? It's not that.
Sitting down.
Not that bad. All right, so there you are, folks. I will say good morning, and we will get moving here this morning. It's yesterday. I have to start about this, folks. Yesterday we had our really, really beautiful spring day. Fantastic it was. Everyone got so excited. They were outside mowing lawns, weeding gardens, walking dogs and kids. It was an amazing day. Flat calm in the morning, beautiful blue sky. Wind got up a little bit, but we've got this northerly, which we still have at the moment actually. 10 knots from the north, 1-8. Dig that, 1-8 degrees, folks. We didn't have the fire on yesterday, of course. It looks like somebody has found the switch. 1018.2. It went down. It is now steady. 100% cloud cover, of course. We did have a little bit of rain overnight, not too much, but we are expecting some unpleasant weather the next 2 days. But certainly, we are quite happy to have had a decent day to get into the radio. Get into the garden. Boy, I've got radio on the brain here. Just been talking to Exocet Strike, or seeing their email actually. They're on. I'm doing a couple of reports from UCAL because of the people going there. They're up at Yupari, just north of Yatte. Couldn't get down to Yatte yesterday because of the strong winds. It's always pretty snotty trying to come down that coast. Boy, you zig and zag and zig and zag. They currently have 7 knots from the south, 1013.5 steady, I think, 10% cloud cover and 22 degrees. And Mezzaluna are about 61 miles from Havana Pass. They currently have 12 knots of southeast, mostly clear skies, 23 degrees and 1013. So pretty consistent there. They are at 2123 and 16729. Seas have settled as the wind dropped, and they'll hopefully make the pass before night. You might want to comment on what the wind's going to do, David, because they they want a bit of wind to get through there. They went between Lifu and Mare as the wind was turning us that way, and the angle was good, so that's good. They'll have a nice, comfortable entrance to the pass and plot themselves in Port Voisey for the night. When you go into Port Voisey, folks, don't worry. There's often a customs boat in there for doing some of the cruise ships that come in. They're not at all concerned about sailboats, so don't worry that you've gone in there. They just ignore you. All right. Not much wind in Noumea. Talked to Diego on Mesa Troy before, so that's about it from there. For those folks, not very exciting World Cup rugby scores, but the interesting one was Wales 29, Fiji 17. So that would have been a good test out for Wales, who are hoping to do quite well in the tournament. Not so good for Fiji. Scotland 61, Russia 0. It's kind of funny seeing Russia getting 0 all the time. Must be a bit deflating. Argentina 47, USA 17. Well, it's nice to have a sport that the rest of the world can, not have to worry about enhanced drug taking and all that sort of stuff. Okay, not too good news from Australia, folks. Up to 30 houses have been destroyed or seriously damaged in a bushfire in northern New South Wales. It's sort of, the top border there goes across straight and then it wiggles a bit. There's a town called Rackville, almost on the coast and in the sort of the blip up towards the Queensland border. Quite bad temperatures they've had. Tuesday were well into the 40s. And, of course, all these drought-induced fires have been on since September and just not looking very good for the season. In Bolivia, they've had a bit of good news there. Rain has finally come to extinguish their devastating wildfires. 4 million hectares have gone up in smoke. That's an awful lot. And they certainly need, well, it's going to really affect some of the different animals on the plains as will affect the people. Bit of strife in Germany. A Syrian who had lived there since 2015 stole quite a big lorry and just drove it into about 8 cars waiting at a traffic light, injuring the 8 people on board. It was in the northwest town of Limburg. And on the eastern side, 2 people have been killed. Somebody decided to shoot a couple of people outside a synagogue. So not too good in Germany, but they do have a very high Muslim population there. We had a bit of news here actually yesterday. We get these magazines, and I would have to say that 2 of the magazines we get are probably the most sleep-inducing, boring magazines that you could possibly imagine. One of them is Weatherwise. It's the magazine you get if you belong to the American Meteorological Society, which David does. And one of them's the NZART, it's the Amateur Radio Society, which I'm a member of. It's called Breakin'. But yesterday, the Weatherwise magazine arrived, and I actually read it. It was fantastic. On the front page, they have a photo competition each year, and they actually have some stunning pictures come into them. But the picture on the front page was actually from Queenstown. A visiting American had taken a picture, quite an arty picture, outside. He was obviously a wealthy wealthy American, because he was at a rather luxurious resort on a golf course, and he took a picture of low-lying fog. It was just cut the remarkable mountain range in half in beautiful autumn colours. That actually got 3rd. But the one that got the grand prize was a beautiful picture of stratocumulus clouds, which you often get in the tropics, and these were just sort of spotty clouds. It was taken from above, and the sunset had illuminated all the little puffs. So it was actually quite good. But there were some other fantastic pictures too, some mammatas. which you also see from time to time. That's the one that sort of looks as if it's little boobies
Oops, hanging down.
hanging down from what is usually a thick cloud. It's called Mammatus for obvious reasons, but from memories. But there were some great ones, a lot from the plains, Wyoming, where there's some fantastic supercell storms can be photographed and otherwise clear sky. So yeah, it was a really interesting magazine.
Hallelujah.
So hallelujah, says David. The rest of the world is really not worth going through. The impeachment programs in the States, Brexit has reached a brick wall because of the Europeans again, fuel riots in Ecuador, Turkey is now moving into Syria. Boy, they didn't take too much time there. Oh, but good news for you Italians out there, the number of MPs you have to pay has just been reduced significantly, 945 to 600. I can't believe that anyone would have 945 MPs, but anyway, they're now reduced to 600, so that's a good start. The Chemistry Nobel Prize has been awarded to 3 people who developed the lithium-ion battery. That was one of the guys was very, very old. He's the oldest ever to get it. And one of them was the one who actually commercialized it so that we could all buy it. I think that was about 30 years ago. But anyway, they well-deserved winners of the Chemistry Prize for the Nobel Awards. All right. As you know, I've asked a couple of times about whether the propagation is good at the start or the finish. We only got one reply to that, and tomorrow we will start on the hour. One reply, which was a little bit disappointing, but it made us realize that I don't think there's too many people listening now. There are a lot of people that don't have radios for sure. And I don't think people really are all that keen on listening to the radio now. There's other sources of weather. So certainly we didn't get, one reply to quite a lot of questioning did indicate that. And certainly, we don't have many supporters this year, only half a page of people who have supported us. So what we've decided to do, first of all, we're going to start the net on the hour, and we'll just ease it forward as we go because it takes people a while to work that out. Tomorrow we will start on the hour, whether it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever it happens to be where you are. And then I think what we'll do is we'll finish, because everyone seems to be wanting to leave quite early in the tropics, we will probably finish doing the net by about mid-November. We have on the website at the moment that we will be finishing towards the end. But hopefully David will have found suitable passage windows for you all by the middle of November, and we'll can it there, because there really isn't too much point in us spending a lot of effort on this if there's not too many people out there listening. So that's what we'll do. Good morning to all of those on streaming. Yes, Whistler has mentioned the power shutdown in California. That's in the northern part of California. Probably about, I think from memory, 34 counties in northern and central California. They're having sort of rolling stoppages. Some have started already because of the worry of, because it's so dry, of fires starting. They have already been heavily fined for the last really bad fire that they had, PG&E. So that's the story there. Eagles Wings are reporting from Port Vila, 2 knots of southeast wind. Lovely blue skies for them. Muscat Cove. Oh, today is Fiji Day, National Fiji Day. Oh, it's a shame they lost the rugby last night. 3 knots from the east, 23 degrees and 1014, and clear skies there. Oh, I'm just looking over David's shoulder. Boy, it does look nice. There's a bit of snotty stuff right up the top of the Espiritu Santo. And the rest of New Cal is, the rest of Vanuatu is looking good, and Fiji is looking good, except for maybe over in the Lao. So anyway, that's it from me, and I'm just going to scroll up to see if there's anything more on streaming. Can't get this thing to work. There we go. working now. So that's about it from here. Is there anybody else with anything? Please call. No, we'll get organised with the weather then.
Okay, good morning. And again, starting with the 500 millibar chart, we've got a quite substantial shortwave trough that lies right over the Tasman. This is the main weather maker at the moment. This shortwave is part of a long wave trough. Now, these two are not in phase with each other. In other words, if you were to look at their axes, if they were in phase, the axes would line up, but they're not doing that. That's good news. If they were in alignment, then we would have big trouble, bigger trouble than we already got from this. Now, there's a 500 ridge that's just to the east, and underneath the ridge, we'll find a broad surface eye affecting the weather pretty much over the cruising routes. It's quite strong, roughly 1030 millibar, 1030 millibar. Now, under the maximum vorticity or spin of the shortwave that I talked about a second ago, is, of course, our Tasman surface depression. And it's about to pounce on New Zealand. The frontal band is going to be over the North Island today. It's over here now. The leading edge of it certainly is here. We've had rain this morning, very light rain, but it still came down. And it's, of course, indicating that that's the leading edge of the front. And anyhow, the main band will hit later today, like I said, and that'll be preceded by north to northeast winds, and they could get up to about 25 knots. I would have guessed more wind out of this, but indications are that it's not going to be as windy as what I had thought. But a lot of times they get this totally wrong, and you do get a lot of wind. So if you are approaching, and there are a few boats that are about ready to get into the Opua area, keep that in mind. Rough seas, of course, will be part and parcel of this. And as you're approaching sea area Brett, you're going to get some poor visibility, obviously, in the heavy showers. Now, here's a bit of long range for you. The high by lunch on Saturday, which is the 12th, is going to be centered near 35 and 165 west, so it's moving eastward. It's still pretty strong at 1030 millibar, 1030. So we'll take a quick look at the islands and the tropics. Our usual Solomon's Trough is still very active, extends east-southeast, not quite to the Santa Cruz Islands, just about though. Another trough runs from Tuvalu, gets down there, affects Wallis, Futuna, and it goes on to northern Tonga. And lastly, we have a trough that bisects Samoa, and it goes straight on to the southern Cooks from there. So a fair amount of activity, not a huge amount, but a fair amount. Now, the Tongan trough affects Nui Tupatapu up to the north, New Potatoes. That's the main effect of that particular trough at the moment. The rest of Tonga is mainly fair, but we will see cloudy periods, occasional showers, I think. Winds fairly light today, east, northeast, southeast, all depends where you happen to be. I would say in the 10 to 15 knot range. Tomorrow, easterlies about 10 to 15. As you can see, there's really nothing violent in this, very, very mellow. On Saturday, you should see easterlies about 15 to 20. And then Sunday picks up a little bit more. I would say we're looking at about 20 knots on Sunday. This is for Tonga. Now, Fiji, for once, looks to be pretty good on satellite imagery. The major trough has edged to the northeast. So on imagery, what I see at the moment, basically scattered cloud, not bad at all. Expect afternoon cloud, though. That should develop, typical tropics. And there'll be a chance of showers with that development. and maybe even thunderstorms, quite possible. The winds look to be easterlies, about 15 to 20. The Lao, though, I'd say maybe southeast for the Lao. Now on Friday, Fiji in general easterlies in the 15 knot range, and this should continue Saturday as well. And long range, looking at Tuesday coming up, I'm seeing northerly quadrant air, about 10 to 15 knots. So that is going to precede a bit of activity coming on to Fiji. Now regarding radar, I try to give you the input on radar for the area. And Fiji Met has just announced that the Nasori radar is, quote, unavailable. So I'm sure incoming air traffic will appreciate this. But anyway, there you go, broken radar. Over to Vanuatu, the Torres, the Banks, the two northern areas, they have got trough conditions up there. The rest of the chain looks pretty decent. Yes, there's scattered cloud about, but really nothing much to worry about. Winds mostly east-southeast, about 10 to 15. I would say Friday in the northern half of Vanuatu, we're looking at east-southeast, 10 to 15. The southern half, east to east, northeast, and very light. I'd call it 10 knots or so, 10 knots. So those heading to Nukal from Vanuatu should see really fairly light air near the loyalties by lunch between Lifu and Mare. One model is actually talking about east to east northeast, but more than likely it's going to be east southeast to southeast, particularly around dinner time. And by Friday, Havana Pass itself, very light air, and we're looking at northeasterlies in the pretty much the center of the pass. Now up around Yate, Patricia had mentioned that we've been there a couple of times, and what happens in New Caledonia when you have generally southeasterly quadrant winds is the air splits there, and almost like a spear tip. And the air on the north side of Grande Terre really does whistle up the coast. And so while the models don't show much, you generally get a fair amount of wind, surprisingly a fair amount of wind. And then if you've got the tidal currents against you, it could be pretty miserable. We could absolutely vouch for that. So that Yate area, I'm not sure why anybody's there anyhow, but anyhow, that's what you get there. And what else was I going to say about the loyalties? No, nothing much there. So we have one yacht that will be at Havana. What is it tonight? You said, I think, or tomorrow morning, whatever. Late today, and probably going into Boise, which is our favorite stop. Nukal itself now in the southern lagoon today, east to east southeast, about 8 to 12. Close into Grande Terre, we're looking at southeast 15. You'll notice the increase in wind. And this is what I'm talking about, where that wind hits the very end of Grande Terre, splits and accelerates. Those hills and whatnot compress the isobars. So it's like a mini, just a little mini high wind zone right in there. It's very typical for that. What else for Grande Terre? I would say Friday, looking for our southern lagoon area, easterlies in the 10 knot range. So when you're out and about in the ELOs, not very much wind. It looks pretty decent. I'll give you the actuals this morning. The outer pass, east northeast 14, Ile de Pan east southeast 5 to 8 knots, and up in Lifu east southeast southeast 9, and Noumea had east northeast about 6 knots, hardly any breeze at all there in Noumea this morning. And if you're there, the barometer, if you want to check it, 1013.4, 1013.4. So that's pretty much the story. Somebody was asking about whether we do have a frontal band that's going to be approaching Norfolk Island. The low is approaching Norfolk Island, and this is going to be in the Monday time frame, late Sunday, Monday time frame. And it's going to reach up to New Caledonia. And the winds from this thing, the models are not calling it off too strong, but very easily we could be looking at 15, 18, 20 knots, gusting up to, 20, maybe 25 briefly. So that's the weather front that's going to be attacking the southern lagoon, the Noumea area, Ile de Pan, that sort of thing. So that will move through, and then when that happens, then off you go, I guess, looking at whether or not you can head on to New Zealand for, well, the marriage, certainly. We didn't get the day of that.
No, you're going to find out soon.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what, Noumea is a nice place to get married. Here's the boss.
And lovely places to honeymoon at that time of the year. All right, just to confirm, folks, please remember, we do this quarter hour by quarter hour, because if you miss the news, it doesn't really matter. The weather is the important thing. Tomorrow we will be starting on the hour, which means I will be here before that, in case anybody wants to tell me their weather conditions and where they are, if you happen to be on passage somewhere interesting. So we will be starting 15 minutes early. So there you go. That's about it from me. Is there anybody else with any questions for David? I've checked the emails. There doesn't seem to be anything coming through there, and nothing coming through on streaming. So I'll just stand by for a minute or two. There is one person there. I think it's High Seas. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. We've got quite a lot of noise here at the moment. Could you just say again where you are approaching at the moment? Over. Tomorrow, Monday. Okay, and Monday. All right, so you'll have to give me... Hang on. I think that's Anahata, and here's it, say 20 south on 176, going south. All right, we are looking, because we're making some assumptions here. We're looking at between about 20 south and 176 at the moment, heading south, to look at what it's going to be like for the next couple of days. I think I got that right. Could you give me a roger, roger, over? Oh, the Monday in New Zealand. What is the Monday in New Zealand looking like?
Not good.
Not good. Not good.
We're going to have a frontal band over the North
We
Island.
will have a frontal band over New Zealand, over North Island actually, a frontal band over the North Island on Monday. So not a very charming day on Monday. Over.
It'll be easterlies, probably.
They're not picking you up very well. It's a little bit muffled here. It will be easterlies.
Maybe up to 30.
Maybe up to 30. I suppose that's not too bad a direction, but easterlies up to 30 knots. So the seas won't be very wonderful. But can you just clarify what else you asked? Over. I think that answered it. Thank you, David. All right. Yeah, your radio is just not all that easy to pick up. Okay. I think that's it from folks. I'm going to leave the Dean and Gail say thank you. I'm not sure for what. But anyway, we will be on the streaming for a few minutes to allow for the delays. Our wind has picked up. I would say it's closer to 15 knots from the north now, but certainly warm enough outside. Have a good day, everybody. It looks much nicer up there. Your computer went off. It made a funny thing, that the big screen.
Again. Oh no, I turned it off.
How did you?
Yeah. I'll put it on sleep.
I think I'm going to have to go and there just seems to be an unusual amount of noise, and unless it's just the wind catching that thing.
You thought that by fixing that wire,
Yeah,
it'd be
I
better.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, going to yacht. The only thing I could think of is that they came